Hi, this is Randy Wykoff, the Dean of the College of Public Health at East Tennessee State University, and I'm pleased to share this week's update on the global COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, it's affecting every country in the world, and since we've been following it, looking at deaths, when we started in the middle of April, it was 165,000 deaths worldwide. Every week since then, that has been increasing such that this week it's over 340,000 deaths. So in the last 6 weeks or so, we have seen a doubling of the number of deaths worldwide. If we look at the United States specifically, we see the same pattern. We started at about 45,000 deaths. It's been increasing every week, of course, and now almost 100,000 deaths and 1.7 million confirmed cases. We have more cases in the United States than any other country in the world. Just for comparison, in an average flu season, we have about 36,000 deaths. So we're more than double that, almost triple it. The statistic that I like to follow most is deaths per million, because that tells you how widespread a disease is in a country. And when we started in the middle of April, the U.S. had about 123 million deaths, 123 deaths per million population. At the time, we were about 1/4 of what Belgium was. Every week, our number has been going up, such that by now, about this week, we have 298 deaths per million. Still just a little over half of where Belgium was when it began. And so we don't know if we're going to see numbers like we're seeing in Europe or whether our numbers are going to slow down. But clearly, it's a growing pandemic. In the time that we've been following this, Belgium has increased 59%. The U.S., of course, has more than doubled. I gave a talk recently, and someone asked me about Sweden. It's being held up as an example of a country that was able to control its coronavirus without a strong economic impact. I can't comment on the economic impact, but as you can see, their growth rate has actually been slightly greater than the United States. I think what we're starting to see is that the growth rate in a country has to do with when the pandemic actually hit there. If you look at somewhere like Canada, the numbers are still relatively small, but the growth rate has been pretty significant. Whereas if you look at Spain, the growth rate has been relatively small. Of course, the numbers are pretty significant. So I think what we're going to see in time is that there'll be a fairly similar pattern starting to evolve based on when the pandemic hit different countries and a little bit to the extent of how those countries responded. A lot of unknowns. We're continuing to see growth rate. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to try to find an answer for you. Thanks a lot.